have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to and during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, your running's over, that's for sure. He already knows all about you. Cut you down, no matter by you. Now you better walk the line. Real life, real
crime. Warning. This episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that of a sexual nature and should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts I'm retelling you were presented to me by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My descriptions of the crime scenes, what I saw with my own two eyes. If you're going to get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And as always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. And today we're going to be continuing the series Mo. When I left you last, I told you that Brian Paul Smith and I had made warrants for the arrest of Marjorie Cheffney, otherwise known as Mo, for the first-degree murder of Sean Alberts and attempted first-degree murder of Christopher Belazar and the double armed robbery. But, y'all, it's a fluid situation. This investigation is long. I got so much to share with you, so just bear with me. But so as everything's going on, Brian Paul and I were getting the warrants made, etc. The sheriff's office put out a press release. They didn't name that we had Mo as a suspect yet. This was put out right before we had the warrants made, and I'm going to read it to you. The title that says, 1 person dead, 1 wounded in a shooting near Albany. Livingston Parish Sheriff's officials are currently investigating a shooting which left 1 person dead and another wounded. Officials received a call at 4 a.m. this date on 5/13/2005 relative to 2 persons being shot on Ed Brown Road east of Albany, Louisiana. Upon arrival, deputies found the body of a male subject lying in a vacant lot west of the address of 30977 Ed Brown Road. The other subject was at the residence listed above. It was determined that both subjects had been shot. Sean Alberts, black male, 22, of 10041 Brown Road, Tickfall, Louisiana, had been shot once in the upper chest and was pronounced dead at the scene by Livingston Parish coroner officials. Christopher Belazar, black male, 24, address unknown, had been shot once in the left leg. Belazar was taken by ambulance to North Oaks Hospital in Hammond, Louisiana for his injuries and was treated and later released. Officials have learned that both Alberts and Belazar were in the vacant lot earlier described when they were approached by 2 other black males who came up on foot. An argument started between the subjects, and at this point, Alberts and Belazar were shot. At present, detectives are following up on all available leads and request that anyone having any information on this incident notify the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office at 1-800-443-7681 or 225-686-2241. Okay, y'all, so that was released to the media, and it would run on the news channels and come out in the newspapers back then, right? And the internet wasn't as prevalent as it is now. It didn't have all the social media, et cetera. So what do? First of all, the autopsy had to be done. And so we go to the autopsy, and again, remember, I told you autopsies are probably the most invasive thing that you could ever have done to you. And I don't want one done to me, even if I've been murdered. And it's just a bad process. And dead bodies don't bother me. The smells don't bother me. None of that bothers me, but I hate it. I didn't hate them, but I didn't like autopsies because, they bring you in, you verify the tag on the bag, then they open it up and then, take the body out of the bag and then shake the bag out to see if any evidence had fallen off the body. Now, Sean Albert's hands had been, bagged at the scene. And that was one of the things that were done that I didn't tell you about, as we did on any homicide victim, just in case there was a chance he had got a chance to scratch the person or whatever. So then they took the bags off his hands and scraped under his nails. And then they get my least favorite thing, which was that, I call it a bone saw. It's like a little drill, the size of a drill, but the head of it is a round disc, and it's a vibrating saw. When you touch that blade to whatever it is, then it cuts, right? But it goes, and then they would put it on the scalp and wring the scalp out. And, when I say wring it out, I mean, they literally do a circular cut around your whole skull. And they peel your face off first. They take that's like skinning a deer. They make the incision in the back of the head and pull the skin up over the face all the way down below your chin. So you're looking at a skull. And then they take that saw and they make that circular cut. Well, when it's making that cut, it always put that bone dust in the air. I mean, you couldn't avoid it, right? And that little bit of burnt smell of burnt human bone. I never really cared for that. But once they make that circular cut, then they put that little chisel into the cut and take the hammer and tap, 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 tap until they force down, they break the suction, and it actually makes a popping sound. It goes, and just like that, right? And so, but the autopsies are a procedure. They start at the head and they work their way down. On Sean Alberts, he had a huge hole in his back, which was the exit wound. So he had been shot in the front, and it came out, I think it was his left shoulder. And I have the photograph shot, and I think I'll put them up for convicts and Patreon. But not all of them, but I want you to be able to see the size of this exit wound that came out of his back. And it's huge from that piece of shit Tech 9 that I told you about. So that's, that wound's measured and everything. They track the path of the bullet, and then they do the rest of the autopsy where they split you open all the way down to your crotch, and they take out all your organs and weigh them and stuff like that. Just typical autopsies. But definitely the cause of death was the gunshot wound that he sustained. And basically blew a hole in the exit wound. It's not a perfect round hole. It's like a jagged, almost triangular shape from where the force of the bullet came out and ripped all the meat out and killed Sean. So, but that was the cause of death. And we got done with that. Well, guess what happens? I told you the streets talk, right? Brian Paul got a call from the radio room, said that somebody wanted to talk to him anonymous. And so they put it through, and the person told him he needed to look at a guy named Jarrell Marshall, and that he was involved in the robbery and the shootings of Sean Albert and Christopher Belazar. So we went and got a photo lineup made of Jarrell Marshall, pulled it up, had Tina Stafford Pearson now that make the 6-pack. The Belazar had been released from the hospital by this time, and Brian Paul and I had to split up and diversify, right? I was going to Belazar's house to show him the photo lineup with Belazar in it. But before I left, Rodney Dillon's mama, remember I couldn't remember her name last episode, I looked it up. It's Cynthia Dillon, and she's such a sweet lady. Brian Paul called Cynthia Dillon, all right, and asked her about Jarrell Marshall. He said, "Hey, Miss Cynthia, you know a guy named Jarrell Marshall?" She said, "Yes, definitely." She had actually seen Jarrell Marshall with Mo or Marjorie Chefney on Dillon Lane in the past by her house. Okay. So that was another supporting factor in us getting the photo lineup of him. Also, she said that Mo had another cousin in from New Orleans named Desmond Bazile, a black male born in 1987, and that she had seen Jarrell Marshall and Desmond Bazile and Mo on Dillon Lane. So we got a photo lineup of Desmond Bazile also. I go to Independence. Brian Paul is working on the other stuff. Independence is where Belazar lived. And that's Independence, y'all, is about 10 miles north of Hammond. And he lived out in the country in a house. And I get there and his girlfriend was there again. And he's pissed now, right? I mean, he's on crutches, his legs wrapped. I told you it was a through and through on the bullet wound. But I told him, he said, I'm gonna handle this shit myself, and I'm gonna find out, And I told him, I said, Christopher, you gotta let us do a job, bro. This is not, you're gonna go to prison behind this. And he said, they killed Sean for no fucking reason. I said, I get that, man, but just let us do our job. I said, I got 2 more photo lineups I want to show you. And again, I don't want you to guess at anything. I don't want you to speculate. Either you know the people in the photo lineups and they were there that night, or they weren't. I said, no, you already identified Marjorie Chefney. I'm looking who was the second guy that you said had the cornrows and was a lighter skinned black male that was carrying the semi-automatic pistol. So I take out the photo lineups and we're sitting in his living room and I showed him the first one and it was the photo lineup of Desmond Bazile. And he looked at it he said, no. He said, I think I know one of the guys in this photo. He said, but he wasn't there. And I said, well, which one do you know? And he said, this one. And he pointed out to Desmond Bazile. He said, I seen him with, City, which is another name they had he was calling Mo from City or New Orleans. He said, I noted, I've seen this dude, I've seen him with him. He said, but he wasn't there. So then I showed him the lineup, the 6-pack, if you will, with Jarrell Marshall in it. And guess what? He immediately picks out Jarrell Marshall. And listen to me, everybody, these photos, again, you'll never understand it unless you see one. And actually, I'm going to put these photo lineups up for Convicts and Patreon. You'll get to see what I'm talking about. The photo lineups are computer generated and they are so close. If you didn't know and if you weren't sure, then damn it, you wouldn't say it, right? So he picks them out and he circled who it was. And then on the back of it, he wrote, this is the other guy that was there that when we were robbed and Sean Alvarez was killed and I was shot. So what did we do? I go back to the office and I have the warrants made up for Jarrell Marshall for first degree murder of Sean Alvarez the attempted first-degree murder of Christopher Belazar and the double armed robbery. All right. And why would you say that? Because remember, Belazar says that it was Mo that did the shooting. Well, guess what? Doesn't matter. If you and I go to rob a bank and let's just say we go to rob a bank and I sit in the car and I'm the getaway driver and you go in the bank and you rob it and you shoot someone, or even if you don't shoot someone, you rob the bank, I'm just as guilty. Because I was there and I had an active part in it. Okay. Doesn't matter if I pull the trigger or if I put the gun in somebody's face or whatever. And under Louisiana law, fuck you, you're guilty. Whew. Y'all know I love that sound and it makes me smile. It's the sound of another sale on Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big business, so upstarts, startups, established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. Scaling your business is a journey of endless possibility. Believe me, Real Life, Real Crime started out selling t-shirts, and today we're selling all the way up to car boxes with everything you need from license plate holders to air fresheners, right? But we're not stopping there because success is a million milestones on a forever evolving path. I love how Shopify has the tools and resources that make it easy for any business to succeed from down the street to around the globe. And y'all, we use the Shopify, integrates everything from TikTok to Pinterest to Facebook, Instagram, and more. And you synchronize your online and in-person sales. It really helps the business. It frees you up, helps you with the books, all the stuff that you don't have time to handle when it comes to the sales part of the business. Shopify takes it off my plate. It makes it easy. If you have a small business, you've got to use it. You'll gain insights as you grow with detailed reporting of your conversion rates, profit margins, and beyond. More than a store, Shopify grows with you. This is possibility powered by Shopify. Go to shopify.com/RLRC, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today and go to shopify.com/RLRC. Hey y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glace, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something, and all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We've got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference Gobble will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin-baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/reallife. That's GOBBLE.com/real-life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had. Hey ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through it. Premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore because now you have hormone harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone harmony is not just a hormone support and supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of hormone harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC right now. Shopify.com/RLRC and grow your business with their help, people. Shopify is it. According to Belazar, Jarrell Marshall was the other one that held a pistol on them when they robbed them and made them turn their pants pockets out. And according to Belazar, he only got $300 cash, but Sean Alberts had no money, and they shot him for no reason. So get the warrants made and get them entered to the NCIC computer. Then, Brian Paul comes in. He's like, Brian, he said, Cynthia Dillon just called me again and said that Mo called her on her cell phone from a number that was 985-215-6111 and advised her that he was in Rodney Dillon's, her son's, Suburban, and that the police were after him. And Cynthia Dillon stated that Mo told her that he was calling from Jarrell's phone. And the phone number, we looked it up, right? Immediately, the 985-215-6111, it came back to Jarrell Marshall, our second suspect now. So we get the information on Rodney Dillon's Suburban that Mo said he was riding around in. Now, Mo also said that the cops were after him. And we put this bolo out on the vehicle, and guess what? For whatever reason, we put it out in Hammond area mostly, but Livingston Parish and Tangipahoa Parish and Hammond City. And I think it was 3 different occasions, a uniformed patrol officer from that area saw it was a big maroon. I think it was a maroon Suburban, one of the older models. And they saw it 3 different times, and every time they tried to turn around on it or whatever, the Suburban got away. They outran them for whatever reason, traffic blocked in the cops or whatever. But they tried to catch up to them and they lost them. So, what do we do, right? Well, the one thing I had was the phone number that came back to Jarrell Marshall, and I'm sitting there at the desk and I'm talking to Brian Paul. I said, you know what? Fuck it. He called Cynthia Dillon on it. Let's just call him. I'm gonna check his water for him, right? And check his fuel, see how he's rolling, see what his temperature is. And I didn't think the dude would answer the phone. I blocked out the number *67 and I called it. That 985-215-6111. I called it. The guy picked up and he said, yo, this is Mo. I was like, fucking stupid motherfucker. I said, hey, Mo, my name's Detective Woody Overton with the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office. And click, he hung up immediately. So I tried to call him back again. And of course, he sent it straight to voicemail. And I kept calling. I was just trying to harass him, fuck with him. Let him know that, hey, bitch, we're coming for you. On 5/13, the same day, y'all. Remember, I told you we hadn't slept. We were rolling, and everything's going on. This is 3:00 in the afternoon. The Rodney Dillon's 1992 Suburban was located at the First United Methodist Church on Denise Drive in Hammond, Louisiana, by the Hammond Police Department. And when they got to the vehicle, and they saw it and they secured it, and then they went into the church and talked to the people. The pastor came out, and guess what? The pastor's vehicle was gone, and it was a silver Dodge Caravan, and it was stolen. Okay. And so the pastor makes a report with Hammond PD, and we put a bolo out on that vehicle, believing that Mo and Rodney had ditched the Suburban because they knew they had been in 3 different pursuits and got away. This Denise Drive, this church is a little bit off on a side street. Like, crime of opportunity, pulled in and stole the other vehicle. The Suburban was towed by Morgan's Wrecker Service and to the Louisiana State Police Crime Lab for processing. Now, I've told you in other stories, if you listen to Scorched Justice and stuff like that, how people fuck up these vehicle transports when they're processed for evidence. I can tell you what happened in this case. When we had a unit follow the tow truck all the way from the church to Baton Rouge to State Police Headquarters, where the crime lab is, until it was brought into one of the bays in the crime lab and turned over to the technician, therefore establishing the chain of custody, which is always so important in these cases. Now, remember, the Belazar had said he thought it was a dark colored SUV. So we're thinking this Suburban that Mo's been riding around in is the vehicle that they were in the night Sean Alvarez was killed and Belazar was shot. The vehicle is being processed. Now I'm going to read you what happened. Okay. Detective Ben Bourgeois, who's now over the detectives with the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office, actually was the one who responded because we were busy doing other stuff. He responded and made sure the vehicle was secure, established a chain of custody, and brought it in. All right, so y'all, I can't find the report, but I know what was found. Ben stayed while they processed the vehicle, and they found a pair of tennis shoes underneath the rear seat of the Suburban, and it appeared that the tennis shoes had blood on them. All right, and they actually tested it, and it came back positive for blood. It was definitely human blood on the shoes, and then those shoes were sent to a different part of the crime lab to be processed to get DNA off of them, etc. They were thinking that the shoes had the blood, the victim's blood on it, either Sean Alvarez or Christopher Belazar. All right, so on 5/13/2005 at 11:15 p.m. Now this is, we're rolling. It's still the same day, y'all. It's 11 o'clock at night. The Detective Murphy Martin. Now, Detective Murphy Martin was one of the coolest dudes ever, and he was one of my first partners in detectives. Murphy was cool as hell. He was old school. He knew everybody. Now you think we knew everybody, especially down in the hood or whatever. Murphy been doing this for like 30 years, and he told like this, hey boy. And Murphy was his country guy, but he was one of the best damn police officers or detectives that I ever knew. And he always liked me, and he would pick on me. Like, hey boy, you gonna get in trouble, boy. But Murphy knew everybody, and I guess he had the reputation that I would get later on, whereas I was the wolf. that Murphy in his younger years, he was like that. But he had worked so many homicides over the years. And unfortunately, most of the homicides happen in these areas, in these drug areas and stuff like that. But Murphy knew all of the players and the gang, et cetera, and they trusted him. And because he had never screwed anybody over, right? But if Murphy Martin came for you, damn it, you knew you had done wrong and you didn't want to fight him. And he was a tough son of a bitch. And he's deceased now, but I learned a lot from Murphy Martin, and he just was absolutely one of the finest law enforcement officers I ever knew. Okay. But but all the people from that area, all the blacks from that area trusted him. And on the same day, now almost, it's, the shooting happened around 3:50 on that day. And then this is almost 20 hours later, Murphy's at home at 11 o'clock at night, and he gets a knock on the door. Now, it's not the first time over the years that people knocked on Murphy's door in the middle of the night when they needed help, but he answers the door, and now you remember we put the warrants out for Jarrell Marshall also and Mo, and he answered the door, and a guy from the neighborhood, Jamie Bridges, told Murphy that Jarrell Marshall was in his truck, and that he knew Jarrell was wanted for the homicide of Sean Alvarez. And Murphy told me, I'm just going to read you Murphy's report. It says on May 13th, 2005 at approximately 11:10 p.m., Jamie Bridges came to my house and told me that he had Jarrell Marshall in his truck and that he was wanted for the homicide. I told him, let me get dressed. And he said, I went out there and placed Mr. Marshall under arrest and advised him of his Miranda rights at 11:15 p.m. and then transported him to the LPSO jail, where I advised him of his rights on the right form. He told me he couldn't afford a lawyer, and I told him he would be appointed a lawyer. I then asked him if he wanted to tell his side to sign his name, or if he wanted a lawyer to sign refuse on the document. He said he wanted to tell his side. I told him to sign his name. And Detective Brian Smith and Detective Woody Overton arrived, and they were detectives handling the case. I turned over the investigation to them. All right, so now we've been rolling, right? We've been rolling nonstop, going on and on, and, we catch a break. Jarrell Marshall knows he couldn't outrun that warrant, right? I mean, people could outrun you on foot if you knew who they were or whatever. But they know, especially off the Cafe Line Road, Ed Brown down in the hood, they knew if the men in blue were coming for them, you had a warrant for them. It was just a matter of time till somebody was going to give them up. We were going to shake the trees. When we had time, we'd go down there and shake the trees and talk to our informants, etc. And we were going to find out where he was and get him under arrest. What he didn't want to happen, and it has happened, unfortunately, in the past, was we had a case where a guy was wanted for murder, and he was hiding from us, and he was armed. And this motherfucker said he wasn't going to jail, right? And it didn't end well for him. Let's just put it that way. By the time we caught up with him, what was done needed to be done, and he never had to go to court. We'll leave it at that. But it didn't have to be that way. And I know Jarrell Marshall didn't want to get killed, right? So, but he is remember, suspect, and been identified by the living victim, Christopher Belazar, as being there when Sean Albert was murdered and Belazar was shot. And damn it, Belazar would have been dead too if that Tech 9 hadn't jammed. So we get to the jail, and again, read over his rights form. Brian did. Y'all, it's a standard form the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office uses. At the top, it has your Miranda rights, and it has it written out line by line. And you read it, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you, blah, 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 blah. You know what they are, but it had them written out line by line. Now, you would read this to the suspect, especially in a murder case like this. You read it to them, and then you have them initial. I would have them initial each line, initial that they understood it, right? And at the end of that, it has a spot for you to say, yeah, I understand my rights, as they were read to me, right? And I don't want to look, I understand my rights, and I have them sign it and date it, and I witness it, and Brian Paul witnessed it. On the bottom of that, it has a consent to questioning part, which says, basically, I'm going to summarize it for you, that I understand what my rights are. I do not want a lawyer at this time. No threats or promises have been made to me. No coercion, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Basically saying, I want to answer questions, and I understand I have a right to have a lawyer, and I don't have to say shit, right? And if they want to answer questions, they want to be basically interrogated, then they would sign that form, right? And then I witnessed it. Brian Paul witnessed it. If you didn't want it, and you'll hear about this as this case goes on, if you didn't want to do it, you can say, fuck you, and just write refuse, which a lot of people did do. So we have him there. And now Jarrell Marshall, a young black man, and he did have the cornrows in his hair, and he was of the lighter skin. And I think at that time it was in the old jail. And when Brian Paul and I got there, Murphy Martin had him in the nurse's office. There was no interview room, y'all. You had a booking room, and it was being used at 11 o'clock or midnight. Somebody was booking somebody in. So Murphy had him in the nurse's office, and we went in and did the form. And guess what? The nurse's office is not a place you want to conduct an interrogation or an interview now, but he did consent to questions. So what we did was, he was under arrest for the charges. We told him, say, hey, Jarrell, we're going to take you up to the detective's office so we can be more comfortable. And so we handcuffed and shackled him, put him in the back of one of our units, unmarked unit, and took him to the detective's office at the old courthouse. And we get up there, and again, we wanted a tape statement from him, right? But we just started. And again, Jarrell Marshall is somebody that we knew, we'd known him from the streets, and had arrested him for dope. We knew his uncles. We knew his people. We knew his aunt. I mean, we knew him, right? And he knew we weren't about any bullshit. But I'll kind of summarize it for you, and then I'm going to stop it because it's a long, lengthy interview, and I actually have the transcripts, and I'm going to read them to y'all. I don't think that's something I've got to do before, and you'll get to hear some of our investigative techniques, but you'll get to hear the actual transcripts from the interview and what he said, and it's a humdinger, and it's very, very important to the story. But I'm going to tell you this. We started talking to him, and to summarize before I start on the next episode with the transcript, spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts to spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser-cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gifts to the coolest finds for kids, to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. So what his official statement was when we got done, we let him talk. And he said, I'm going to sum it up for you, okay? And this is like 5 hours of interrogation that went on before we took the actual tape statement. And no, we weren't beating him or anything like that. I'm talking to him just like I'm talking to you. And Brian Paul, we sit him down. Brian Paul says, hey, man, you're under arrest for the murder of Sean Albertson, Christopher Belzar. And Jarrell, soft-spoken, polite. And he's like, no, man, no. He said, Brian, you got me wrong, man. You got me bad. And I was like, dude, you were picked out of the photo lineup. I showed it to the surviving witness, and the one he caught one to the leg, but he lived, as you obviously know. And you're done. Stick a fork in you, you're done. And he was like, no. I said, well, then you tell us what happened. He said, ain't nothing happened. He said that I wasn't there. I said, are you going to tell me you honest to God weren't there? He said, I wasn't there, man. I'm telling you, I wasn't there. And he starts crying and all this shit. And this goes on for a period of hours. He's not only did he say he was not there, he said he didn't know who the fuck Mo was, or City, or the guy from across the lake. Well, I showed him the picture during the interrogation. Showed him the picture of Mo at some point. Now, again, I'm paraphrasing this because it was like 5 hours long that we interviewed him and didn't really try to sweat him. I mean, we didn't get ugly with him or anything like that, but we just kept hounding him with the facts, trying to get him to change his story. But his story was, fuck you. He didn't say fuck you, but I guarantee you in his mind, he was thinking, fuck you. I ain't admitting the shit. But his story was, fuck you. Not only was I not there, I don't know who Mo is. I've never seen him before in my life. I've never talked to him before in my life. I wasn't nowhere around where this happened. I think he said it was at his uncle's house or whatever. I'll read it to you in this transcript next week. But this is one of 6 interview transcripts that I'm going to read to you that Brian Paul and I conducted these interrogations on different people. That's why I'm going to put it off to next week. But he said unequivocally he was not there. And we hammered him. Boom, boom, hammered him. Questioned. And I used old tactics of showing him the crime scene photos. We had them printed up, right? Sean Albert's dead back in the Jesus, arms raised above his head position. Showed him the pictures from the autopsy. Shock value, right? And trying to get him to break down, trying to get him to say that he wasn't the shooter, but he saw Mo do the shooting. That's basically, we knew he did shoot, but fuck him, he's just as guilty. And he's looking at the very least, he's looking at life with no parole, and it could be a death penalty case because it was an armed robbery, it's first degree murder. And y'all, in Louisiana, life means life. If you get life, you're fucking done. Stick a fork in you. There's no probation, no parole. It's not like other states where after 20 something years, you're up for parole. Jerome Marshall's not stupid. He knows this. I mean, it's not his first rodeo. He's no virgin in the crime world. But what sticks in my mind is the fact that this kid, and I say kid because he was probably 15 years younger than me at the time. This kid was adamant. He was not there. He didn't know Mo. He didn't know shit. He was at his uncle's or wherever, and I'll read that to you next week. He just stuck to it. Now, during these long interrogations like this, and I always say a good homicide interrogation doesn't even really begin until after 4 hours or 5 hours, because this person has no incentive to come in and say, yep, I did it, right? He has no incentive to come in and say, yeah, I was there. We went to arm rob him, and the other dude did the shooting. We gave him every out. Look, hey, you didn't know. Maybe you didn't know what was going to happen, and he robbed him, and he just started shooting. No, I wasn't there. Well, motherfucker, yeah, you were. All right. And I even told him, locked him into a statement that he didn't know who Mo was, never seen him, never been with him. Well, fuck. Rodney Dillon's mama, Miss Cynthia, who's a great witness, right? She's just a great human being and a great citizen. And she's putting these people that she knows, whether she realized it or not at the time, she's going to put them in prison for the rest of her life. And I told him at one point, I said, I got a little hot with him, and then I was like, hey, motherfucker, you are fucked. And you want to stick with that story, you are fucked. I know that you know Mo. Miss Cynthia Dillon says she's seen y'all in Dillon Lane. You and him and his other cousin, whatever his name is, I can't remember now, that I showed the lineup to Christopher, and he was like, no, I've seen that dude with Mo, but he wasn't there that night. I said, we got different witnesses that put you there, and plus a fucking eyewitness that you were there with a pistol when the shooting started, and you were there when the armed robbery occurred. No. So he stuck to it. And again, you're gonna love to hear the transcript next week. So what we do is we do try to get them to, first of all, you lock them, you listen to whatever it is they want to say, right? Then you lock them into that statement, and then you start to pick it apart. We knew he was lying, and it went on, and we hit him, tried all the different techniques, from the scare techniques to the showing the pictures to whatever. And now there are times during this hours and hours and hours of interview. Now, Brian Paul and I have been way over 24 hours, no sleep. That Brian Paul and I would go out into the hallway and get him some water, get Jarrell some water or whatever, and we'd talk. And at the end, we were outside talking before we took the tape statement, and I asked Brian, I said, what are you thinking? Brian's like, man, I'm thinking he didn't do it. And I'm like, he said, what do you think? I said, fuck him, he did it. But I knew that Brian knew this kid, much more so than me, right? Remember, he was raised in Albany with the different family members, and I mean, whatever. But he told me, I mean, it's my partner. He said, I don't think he did it. I mean, maybe Miss Cynthia got it wrong. Maybe it wasn't him. Whatever. I said, Brian, the fucking victim picked him out of the photo lineup. And he's like, well, maybe he's got an axe to grind with him. I said, well, maybe so. We'll find out. We'll keep doing what we do. We'll go in and take the tape statement, and then we'll proceed, right? So we did. took a statement. And again, I'm going to open up next week's episode with that because it's long and I want you to hear, the investigative techniques, if you will. And so we took him back to the jail, booked him in, and went home. And I'm like, dude, I got to go home and get just a little nap, change of clothes. He was the same way. We were exhausted. But we had to be back at the sheriff's office for 8:00. And then by this time, I mean, it's like 6:00 in the morning. So I haul ass back to Watson, jump into bed, set my alarm for like an hour and a half and get up tired as fuck, but running on adrenaline, take a shower, put on back on back then we wore, every day we wore a tie, button down shirt, tie, and if you, a jacket, if you were going to be on the news or if you were going to court or whatever, in slacks. So, and we had to go back in because this case is still rolling, right? Now we got to build the evidence beyond what the living victim said and get Mo still in the win, right? And we had to brief the powers that be. Now, the chief of the detectives, the number 2 in the sheriff's office was my mentor, Kearney Foster. And Mr. Kearney, like Murphy Martin, he knew everybody, okay? Everybody. Best damn investigator in the world. And he was a no-nonsense guy. And I told you before, and I'll tell you again, people were scared to death of him. I wasn't scared of him. I respected the shit out of him. And he chewed my ass on so many occasions, but he taught me so much more than he ever chewed me out. Anyway, rest in peace, Mr. Kearney. Rest in peace, Murphy Martin. Both are deceased now, but just great guys who gave their lives to serving the public. So we go back to the courthouse. First thing, Kearney had already called. I want y'all in my office. So we go, and it was Mr. Kearney sitting behind his desk in his chair, leaning back a little bit, steepling his fingers up, and he had that crooked finger. But he's sitting there, and Stan's sitting off to the side, and he's like, "All right, boys, where y'all at?" So we told him, and everything all the way up until the interrogation of Jarrell Marshall. And Kearney said, when we got done, Brian Paul was talking, and when he got done, and I'll never forget this, and you can ask Brian Paul today, Kearney said, "So what do you think about Jarrell Marshall?" And now Kearney knows this boy's family, and he's arrested some of them, and he knows their parents and all that. And he said, "What do you think?" And Brian Paul said, "Mr. Kearney, I'm going to be honest with you." He said, "It looks bad for him, right? Miss Cynthia saying that, she's seen him with Mo and all that, and the victim picking him out of the photo lineup." He said, "Well, I'm going to be honest with you." He said, "I don't think that he was there." And Kearney looked at me and he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Mr. Kearney, he was absolutely there." And I said, "What I think is you can't get tired of disbelieving someone and let your human emotions take over, and you feel empathy for them and whatever, and you want to start believing them that goes contrary to the evidence, right?" And I said, "But you know what? I respect the shit out of Brian Paul's opinion, and he may be totally right." I said, "But I'm going off of my gut, and we're going to continue to work the case." And look, Brian Paul and I, mad history, still do to this day, right? And I respect the shit out of me. He's one of the best detectives I ever worked with. Is certainly probably one of the best law enforcement professionals ever. But everybody gets it wrong sometimes, right? Or everybody has a little doubt, but I'll never forget that meeting in the attorney's office. And then I just told him, I said, fuck it, we're going to work the case, but you can't start believing someone just because you get tired of disbelieving them. And Kearney said, and then, his old gruff way, well, get out of my office and go do your jobs. That's how he was, right? Basically putting his foot up our ass, and he knew we were tired. He knew we had a ton of work to do. And this story is just getting started, y'all. Just wait till you hear what all's coming. Okay. And I don't know how long it's going to go, but it's a good one, and it gets better as it goes along. So, with that being said, I'm going to conclude this week's episode, and next week I'll pick it right back up with the interrogation transcripts. Okay. And again, on this case, I have so much more information I've ever had on any podcast that I've done before. And this is one of the truest old school Woody Overton stories you'll ever hear. All right. So LOPA, Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency. It's my jam, people. They're saving lives every day. It's a nonprofit. I have stories, and one day when I get time, I'll have Miss Lori Steele on, with some people who are recipients of organ transplants that are alive because other people gave their life. But not their life, but, they were going to die anyway, but they gave their organs, donated their organs so these other people could live. So, if you want to be an organ donor, and you don't have to be from Louisiana, you could be, if you're a lifer from Saskatchewan, Canada. I think that's where Saskatchewan is. I really don't know. But if you're from Saskatchewan and you want to be an organ donor and you have internet service, go to lopa.org, fill out the form, be a hero, give the gift of life. And I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And until next time or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder Bayou. Peace. Real Life, Real Crime is a true crime podcast brought to you by your host, Woody Overton, executive producer, Jim Chapman with Envision Podcast Studios. Your music is provided by Chase Tyler and the Chase Tyler Band. Follow me on Instagram at Real Life, Real Crime, or at Overton Woody. Check out our numerous social media pages. Also, go to the App Store and download our free Real Life, Real Crime community app, which contains all things real life, real crime and true crime, and uncensored and run by me. Wherever you listen to a podcast, go like, subscribe, and review to Real Life, Real Crime, or my other podcast, Scorched Justice. Thank you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to and during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?